What's going on, Washington fans? Welcome to the JTFB YouTube channel. And Washington released their first unofficial depth chart today. So, of course, I got to go through it and give my thoughts. But, guys, hit that subscribe button and hit that like button as well if you enjoy what you see. Got a lot of big things coming up. Got some more collabs with my guy Rio before the game for the preseason against the Browns. I'll be back at training camp. There's a lot going on. So, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And, as always, follow me on Twitter as well at Josh Taylor FB. But, guys, let's take a quick little dive into this and see what we've got for this depth chart. There's a couple things that stood out to me, so I want to talk about it. I know it's the first unofficial depth chart. This might have some kind of sway as to what we see for the preseason game, though. But still, I have some thoughts of a couple things that I want to take a look at real quick. Should you take this with a ton of weight? Possibly no. I would say not. But at the same time, they don't just throw these depth charts out there and say, hey, let's just put something random together. So I'm interested to see how this one influences the first preseason game against the Browns, which, like I said, I'll be doing a preview show for that. I'll be going live on Bleacher Report for the game, and then I'll be doing a recap on the channel with Rio. So there's a lot of things coming up for that game. But I'm taking a look at this depth chart to seeing how much it really influences what we see during that game, and then also how much this changes throughout the preseason. So, of course, first off, we have our guy Terry as the one spot here. De'Ami Brown's right behind him, which really tells me that he's wide receiver 4. Charles Leno at the left tackle spot. Cornelius Lucas at 2. Brady Daniels at 3. Nothing really surprising. This is where we see the first thing that kind of surprises me. We have Sadiq Charles as that left guard 1 spot. This is a guy who's missed a couple days of practice already. He's had some injuries in the past. He's gotten a couple injuries so far in training camp, just little small things. And Chris Paul has been the guy that started a lot today as well. So I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see Chris Paul at that left guard 1 spot. I'd be really surprised if Sadiq Charles gets the start for the preseason game. But at the same time, like, maybe Ron and them want to see what he can do in live action, because it's been a little while, honestly. It's been a while. And then when he was out there, it wasn't always the best. You saw some flashes, but still, he's just been one of those guys that's had these lagging injuries for so long. It just keeps popping back up, these random little teeny things. It's nothing too crazy, but still, if you're not on the field, you're not helping us. So Chris Paul at that 2 spot really surprised me. And then Mason Brooks at LG4 is really surprising me, because this is a guy I'm super high on. If you follow me on Twitter, you see me talk about him a good bit. I think, in my opinion, this is a guy that has the highest ceiling. When you go back and watch, not only what he did at Western Kentucky for his first, was it 4 years? He played left tackle. He played all over the line. But then he goes to Ole Miss. He's in the SEC, and he dominated that left guard and right guard spot. So he's very flexible. I think this is a guy that's super underrated. He has a lot of the great techniques down, and, he's impressed a lot in practice. He put Fedarian Mathis down, like, on back-to-back reps and such, and he's looked good. But I think that he has a couple of the physical tools he's missing. He's trying to get that play weight, the play strength up a little bit. There's a couple things he's working on, but I've liked what I've seen out of Mason Brooks so far. And I said it today, this left guard spot still really concerns me. Chris Paul looked really good in that start against the Cowboys, though, so maybe we have something there. But that's what I'm saying. I don't want him running with the 2s. I want Chris Paul running with the 1s, because I feel the best about him as of today. Maybe middle end of the season, Mason Brooks could be the guy, but kind of surprised by that. Nick Gates, center 1, Tyler Larson, center 2, and then Ricky Stromberg at 3. And I've said this many times, I think the best combination on the offensive line is when Ricky Stromberg eventually becomes a starting center. You can kick Nick Gates out to guard. If that doesn't pan out for you, or maybe you sign somebody, there's a Dalton Reisner out there. There's a couple Ben Joneses out there. A couple different options. So, obviously this left guard and this center spot, being that these are new guys, that's where I'm keeping my eyes on the most on the offensive line, because we saw what happened last year, even in the right guard spot. And Sam Cosmi gets the nod at that right guard 1. He's been great in camp. People, especially Dron Payne's, come out and said, it's kind of weird seeing him at that spot, but he's looked good, and he's been annoying to have to get him around. So Sam Cosmi's holding that down while he gets that right tackle 1. Depth-wise, the tackle spot looks atrocious, by the way. If something happens to Wiley or Leno, we are in big trouble, I tell you that. Honestly, that's pretty much the whole line. Maybe the center spot's the best depth-wise, but outside of that, it's ugly. Of course, Logan Thomas gets tight end 1, John Bates tight end 2, Cole Turner tight end 3. Then we got Curtis Samuel. Dax Milne here looks like he would be the last guy to really get one of those spots, and I'll talk about him here in a second. But then Jahan Dotson and then Byron Pringle. Like, in my opinion, Byron Pringle was a lock to get this roster spot. So you have Terry, Jahan, Curtis, Diami at 4. 5 would be Pringle. And I don't know if they'll keep 6 or 7. Maybe they just keep 6, and maybe it would be Dax Milne because they want to use Antonio Gibson in a little bit of a receiving role. He kind of can play both. He's like your flex guy if you do like fantasy football. He's your wide receiver or your running back, whatever you want to do. And then, of course, Sam Howell. Breaking news. Breaking news. No, it's not breaking news. Everyone knew that Sam Howell was going to be quarterback 1. I think I saw, who was it? Nikki put up odds for a betting website. It was like minus 700 favorites for Sam Howell to be the starting quarterback week 1. Like, it's very obvious. Brian Robinson, running back 1, EG at 2. And then, of course, Alex Armah at fullback, who Ron said he could see him playing some tight end this season as well. So keep an eye on that. Defensive line, nothing crazy. You've got your 4 studs, the Sweat, Payne, Allen, and Young. And then behind him, really good depth, by the way. Hill, Ridgeway, Mathis, Smith, Williams. And then you got F.A. Opata, KJ Henry, Andre Jones, Abdul Anderson. I mean, there's some good depth here. Like, there's some good guys that are going to get cut, unfortunately. Another thing that's not breaking news, Jamin Davis and Cody Barton are the 2 linebackers for those sets. David Mayo and Khaleke Hudson right behind him. Khaleke Hudson's looked really good in camp as well. Ron, I think, talked about him either today or yesterday, like pointed him out and said, like, yes, this is a guy like we're noticing. He's gotten a lot better. Now, here's where you got some other things. I want to say this. What are they going to do with the secondary? Why do they get 2 guys in the first 2 rounds? What does this look like? Josh, who's going to be playing where? Kendall Fuller starting outside. Like, he will very, 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 very rarely ever be in the inside. They don't need him to. He's at his best on the outside right now, straight up. Then they have St. Juice as the starting nickel. I think that's really interesting. He's been there most of training camp. He played a limited amount of times in that slot last year, but in my opinion, he looked better on the outside. But then you have Forbes, who's the other guy starting opposite of Kendall Fuller. So in my opinion, yes, those are the 2 guys you want on the outside. So then you just kind of have to put St. Juice in the nickel. And he's looked good in camp. Like, don't get me wrong, I think he's looked good in camp. Logan Thomas has given him some fits a couple times. But then you have Jartavius Martin, who can play outside and nickel, and he can play safety. I'm telling you guys, I'm super, super high on Quan Martin. He goes by Quan. His name's Jartavius, but he goes by Quan Martin. I'm super high on Quan. Like, I feel really good about him. I'm not mad at all that we got him in the second round. Like, I projected us to get him in the late. I mean, like, if by some miracle he fell to us in the third, I would have been ecstatic. But I knew like we'd have to get him in the second. So love that. Rashard Wildgoose is the backup. That's what I'm saying. Just because they have Wildgoose as like the slot number 2, I would put Martin in there before I put Wildgoose in there. I think he can play it really well. And then, of course, you got Danny Johnson, who actually looked pretty good last year. Christian Holmes has had some flashes in training camp as well. He's had some bad moments, but he's had some really good ones too. Then you got, of course, Cam Curl and Derek Forrest holding it down. Derek Forrest is that free safety spot. Cam Curl, of course, at strong safety. And then you got Reeves behind him. The thing that's kind of interesting to me is Percy Butler, coming out of college, was more of that strong safety like a Cam Curl, and he's kind of transitioned to that free safety. I just didn't think he had the range to play that free safety spot, but so far he's looked good. He's looked good in camp. He's had a couple interceptions. Forrest has had some interceptions. Curl's had some interceptions. I'm telling you guys, this DB room is ridiculous. I'm not mad at all that we have all these guys with Fuller, St. Juice, Forbes, Quan Martin, at that corner spot. They're going to rotate some guys in. They're going to do different looks. They're going to confuse a lot of offenses. Jack Del Rio has a fantastic roster in front of him this season. We saw how good it was last year. Now imagine the defense of last year with more turnovers from Quan Martin, with Emmanuel Forbes. Fuller had some interceptions last year. St. Juice caused some turnovers last year. There was that one that he popped up that Danny Johnson got in the Vikings game. So just imagine more turnovers than we did last year. And then you got Chase Young back. So this defense is going to be crazy. I'm ecstatic to see it. I cannot wait. But then also, like, depth-wise during that preseason game, I'm excited to see these guys in the secondary and then also on the D-line as well. But also, last thing, it might not be crazy to a lot of people, but it kind of does have some implications to other spots. The special teams, of course, you got Tress Wade, Joey Sly, Michael Bagley's still kind of, competing. That hasn't gone away. He's still there, still kicking competition right now. And then, of course, you got Cameron Cheeseman as the long snapper. But they have at kick return, they have Antonio Gibson and Byron Pringle and Dax Milne as the third guy. So we should see some AG and Byron Pringle in the kick returns. I think that pretty much shows like these are the guys for kick returns. I think Pringle, he's been a lock, like I said, on the roster for me anyways. But then punt return, this is where I'm like, whoa. They've got Dax Milne as the starting punt return guy. And honestly, I haven't seen enough out of him to be like, wow, this is blowing me away. Like, I'm glad about this. Like, not at all. Maybe Pringle hits that, gets in that punt return spot by the time the season starts. And then they have Jahan Dotson. And in my opinion, Jahan Dotson back there would be amazing, but I'm not risking him getting hurt back there. Like Jahan Dotson, punt return wise at like Penn State, like he's shown he can do it. This is where I think guys like Mitch Tinsley, my guy Mitch, I think he would be a good time. Whether it's that 6 spot, maybe they get 7 wide receivers, having him back there on kick return and punt return, in my opinion, is much better than risking Jahan Dotson back there. Yes, Dotson's better in space. Yes, he's fast. Yes, he would be more productive, but I'm not putting him back there to get hurt at all. Like I promise you, Garrett Wilson's not going to be returning kicks for the Jets, and same with Chris Olave on the Saints. I promise you that's not going to happen. But at the same time, Dax Milne is not doing enough to, blow me away. So let me know what y'all think, though. I think there's a couple interesting things. Like I said, wasn't too crazy. It's the first unofficial depth chart, but this is kind of just telling us, guys, like this is a little bit of a blueprint of what you can expect from this team. And like I said, guys, you just never know. We don't know what we're going to see for that preseason game. So let me know what y'all think. Anything that stands out to y'all, anything that's kind of concerning to y'all, whatever, let me know. Like I said, hit that subscribe button and hit that like if you enjoy what you see. And I'll see y'all next time here on the JTFB channel. Peace.